Hello, I'm Dr. Garrett Castleberry, Associate Professor and Program Director of Communication, Media, and Ethics at Mid-America Christian University. And if you're seeing this video, you've actually seen some others already talking about our COM 4413 course, Communication and Cultural Change. Well, really quickly, I just want to create a set of expectations, and not in the academic sense, but in the experiential sense, for what's in store for us when we meet over the course of the next 5 to 6 weeks in the class. Well, this course, as I've perhaps teased to some of you before, is a bit of an opportunity to infuse a history course within our discipline. I think within any discipline, there are 3 types of courses that all disciplines should integrate at some form or some level. Students should at some point gain exposure to theory, method, and history. And given that our communication focus is heavily invested in media studies and digital avenues, and certainly social media as a product of what we do, we're interested in learning more about those avenues. And so for this accelerated course track, we are going to focus our media history on the mass medium of television. And this is a way for us to really look at the second half of the 20th century in the U.S. and American culture specifically, but we may be able to have some broader global conversations at certain points, as well as the first 2 decades of the 21st century. That's a lot of time to cover in a short amount of time. We're going to do our best to hit that target. And so one of the ways we're going to do that is to chronologically work our way through television history. And while the TV itself was invented and showcased early in the 20th century, it really didn't become in vogue. It wasn't really adopted into the modern American family home until the 1950s, and then began to flourish by the 1960s. And so we're going to tackle really each week that we come together a couple of decades, like 1 to 2 decades at minimum, we'll put it that way. Looking at in week 1 the 1950s and 60s, the first golden age of television, and then we will look at perhaps at least the 1970s, if not the 70s, and into the 80s in week 2, week 3, either the 80s or simply the 90s, because we'll also have some student presentations that night. And then in the final 2 weeks, we will examine the 21st century. So many advancements that have taken place, and really even for those of you that have quote unquote cut the cord and quit on cable, there's a reason. It's because you probably picked up a bunch of streaming services, and while we refer to that as streaming, we're technically streaming through updated models of that traditional technology that we refer to as the television. And so we're going to explore all this and more, but not just talk about and read about and present about television. We're going to screen some TV. All right, so get ready for that. That is one reason we want to encourage your in-person participation as often as possible, or for those of you that can, join us live. We're going to synchronize via Zoom for those conversations and talks. Now, quick word about that is sometimes there are copyright infringements that would take place if we were streaming media directly while class is going, copyrighted materials and that sort of thing. And so we're not going to take that leap, and we're definitely going to recognize and be appropriate to those stipulations of both educational rights and fair use, but also copyright and that sort of thing. So what's going to happen is when we're meeting, if we're going to screen content and maybe we're going to watch little bit longer of a clip, or maybe a longer excerpt or episode of to sample a program for some specific educational intentions, we will pause or end that live feed and then tackle that content. Now we can reactivate that live feed afterward, but that would potentially require a couple of things, and it may or may not be convenient for you if you're joining us via Zoom to consider this. Either way, we want to at least encourage and we'll try to maximize front end of course with very lecture driven and discussion based time. But when it comes to the screening things, here are some options. And this is a way that I hope to innovate this course cycle experience from other ones, is that if we can get you advanced knowledge of where that episode or content is available, and as soon as we switch off the live feed and kind of close the Zoom session, you could immediately check out that program for yourself. And time permitting, if it's not an end of class exercise, if there's more time where we're coming back to break it down and discuss it more, which hopefully there will be, we could simply restart the Zoom and have you jump back in as soon as you complete that episode. And so that requires a little bit of back and forth, a little bit of coordination, but it's certainly something we're willing to do. Now, what it likely requires, in addition to, of course, you having that information about what the program is that we're going to watch, is a better understanding in advance of where it's located. Fortunately, so much of what we call classic TV, classic stuff from the mid decades of the 20th century, really into the modern age, but they're now archived on streaming platforms. One of those benefits of streaming capabilities of digital archiving is access, right? And that's a privilege that we now have, is that instant access. But of course, access comes at a price or a premium. And so depending on the week, we might be jumping around between a couple of different platforms. So I'm just giving that advance notice that some of the content is available. Most of it, all of it really should be available, but it may require a couple of different access points on streaming networks. The last I checked, and I will check again before we have class, but to my most recent knowledge, the primary streaming services that we'll be able to access the majority of our content from are available on Hulu, which a lot of people have now adopted. It's before Disney went on a surge, it was the number 2 streaming service, and actually Hulu is technically now that Disney bought out Fox, Hulu is also part of they own that as well. So if you have Disney Plus and you have Hulu, like Disney owns both of those things. They're benefiting either way. But Hulu has a number of archived shows from a bygone era that we may sample from during the semester. And HBO Max, right? It's this incredible merger, but the last time I checked, there is a great documentary series on there that we may sample from as well. And so I'm looking to confirm the status of those. They were certainly available on there the last time we were able to do this. But I will be in touch with what and where you can locate those items. Really, I mean, we're talking about resources that are equivalent to, renting a couple of videos off the shelf if this were the 90s or something like that. But hopefully it won't be too taxing on us. It's built into the curriculum. It's written in, it's right there in the syllabus and the content section. That this is one of those media studies courses, and so we do have to have media, sometimes temporarily acquire media to be able to study media. But that's just a quick word on what we're planning to do. And so we're going to shift through time. I put this video together also to kind of prime us, right? Get those thoughts swirling about different eras of TV watching. And you don't have to be a big couch potato, so to speak, to probably have had some exposure to TV at certain points in your life. And this is going to be a really fun invitation for you to bring those memories, bring those experiences those takeaways, some critiques. This is all of this is open to critique in any number of sense and lenses, and hopefully we'll do so in this course experience together. So I invite you all, if you can, please join us in person, and then also if you can't, but you can join us at the same time, please join us via Zoom, and we're gonna have some terrific conversations and remembrances, and it's gonna be a great way to carve a slice out of media history together as we work through COM 4413, communication and cultural change.